It's really useful for writing code.
Yeah.
It like makes, I have a 7-month-old child, and the things that I used to do in 2 days, I can now do in 2 hours, and it's very useful when you have that time constraint. So I would say it's really useful if you know what you're doing and how it works, and you know how to ask it questions and give good answers. And with code, it's usually right or wrong. If it's wrong, I can tell how it's wrong. So there's less issues with bias and the other kinds of problems that we see with it.
Right. Chris, what about you?
I use it for both question generation sometimes, if I'm thinking about what kinds of questions I want to ask people. As a team lead, I'm doing kinds of like team management things. So even coming up with question ideas for candidates, but also coming up with plans. For example, right now we're trying to put together some editorial guidelines that we want to update. And so just to get it started, because sometimes you're sitting there in front of a computer and you don't know what to start with, you just say, hey, like, this is what I'm thinking. Give me like a first draft or some thoughts, and then you can bounce ideas off of. It's kind of like a friend, you can kind of bounce ideas off of it.
But so far, these are two examples that aren't actually creating journalistic products, right? They're not writing articles. Are there uses like that you use it with Paul? Or
No, what I do sometimes is I will put articles that we have written. I rarely put things that we are working on, but things that we have written, I will put it in to chat and ask, could you produce a summary for a 5th grader? Or could you produce a summary for a McKinsey consultant so that I could see what is the difference or how the language model is thinking about the investigative journalism that we're doing? How do we communicate to different demographic and different audience? So that usually give me some insight in terms of like, oh, they're framing it this way. Personally, I use it, because I'm not the most finesse when I'm like annoyed at something, so I usually put all my email into ChatGPT and say, please reframe this so that I don't sound like a crazy person. And so I think that's really helpful as a way to sort of point out the tone. But in terms of work-wise, I do often go put stories, I say, what are the questions that is missing from this story? So I think in that sense, it helped me become a better, quicker analysis. Give me better analytics